can we Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, depending on the location you're joining us from. Welcome to the SCP Open Export Series for the month of May. My name is Indegiju Anna Mabula, and I serve as the Communications Officer at African Food Chain Makers. And it is a delight to be your moderator for today's session. And we would be looking at sustainability and ethical sourcing in exporting. But before we start the event for today, let's have a run through the agenda. We'll be having introduction, and we have a team member coming to take you through what AFC is about. And also, I will have a couple of participants here share their export story. Then we'll go to the meat of today's session, which is our speaker's presentation, and then also have an opportunity for a Q&A. So ensure you have your notes, your pen, jotters, notepad, literally anything you can use to jot down the insights you would be getting from today's session, as well as any question you might have. You can drop your questions in the chat box, or you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and you'll be called upon to ask your question. And then we'll now be moving on to connecting with AFC, which is a membership drive for those who are not part of the amazing AFC community, and we're closing it with any other next step and announcement that we might have. So let's introduce ourselves. We'd love to know you. And it is an opportunity for you to network with other participants and engage with them. So let's have you introduce your name, your agribusiness, and your country. So if I would do that, I would say my name is Anna Mabula. I am from Nigeria, specifically here in Abuja, Nigeria. And I don't have an agribusiness, so I would say African Food Change Maker. So that's how we're going to do it. Let's network, let's meet people. You can never tell who you would be meeting in sessions like this. So I'll be going to the chat box to give a shout out to the first set of people that are introducing yourself. I'm seeing Samaila is saying good. Dagi, Malik, good. I can see John Denagana from Abuja, Nigeria. I'm seeing Ajuju, apologies. Miracle Adeze from Nigeria. She said she's into rice production. I'm seeing Samuel from the CEO of Sanchez Global, also Nigerian. There are a lot of Nigerians today. Let's have other countries. I understand that. I know that we always have people from other countries joining us. So let's have you rep your country. Amazing. I'm seeing the first person that is outside of Nigeria. That's Agnes Tambanda from Malawi. It's great to have you. I can see Angela from Kenya, Ahmed from Taraba, Jalingo. So let's keep the introduction, keep the energy going, and let's move on to the next segment. And as you are also introducing yourself, I would like us to add it and also have a pulse check. Use your most favorite emoji right now, or the emoji that represents how you are doing or how you are feeling. For me, I would say I'm expectant. I don't know if there's an emoji for expectant. So I'll just use my face to replicate an emoji. I'm expectant. I'm looking forward from learning from our expert that will be taking us today and picking out something new that I can share or use to improve my work here at AFC and also what I do here. So let's have you drop your favorite emoji. How are you looking forward to this session? I see Dagi is sending a love emoji. I guess it's also looking forward to learning just like I am. Great. So thank you so much, Ibrahim Aliyu. I see your favorite emoji. Okay, so let's move on to the next aspect of today's session. about AFC. I understand a couple of persons already know what AFC because I can see some of our community members on the session with us, but there are always people new that are joining us for every session. So I'll be calling on my colleague, program officer here at AFC, Gloria Praise, who would be taking you through what we do at AFC and what we have to offer to the ecosystem. Hi, Gloria Praise, over to you, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Gloria Praise, and I'll be taking us through on who we are and what we do at African Food Changemakers. So African Food Changemakers is a non-for-profit organization, and what we do is we are committed to nourishing Africa and changing global narratives. So here at African Food Changemakers, we strongly believe that small and medium-sized enterprises are the lifeblood of the food ecosystem. However, these enterprises are being driven by visionary, dynamic, and innovative entrepreneurs. Consultants, and many more. All of these people, we call them change makers. However, these change makers are being faced by devastating impacts of climate change, global and local risks and shocks, macroeconomic challenges, and what we do basically is provide these entrepreneurs with support in terms of funding opportunities, in terms of training, in terms of visibility, market linkages, and most importantly, a community of support. You will agree with me that when you find people who feel the same things with you, it makes the journey easier. And that's what we provide at African Food Changemakers. So through the African Food Changemakers Hub, we enable African entrepreneurs to start and scale resilient agri-businesses that nourish Africa and the world. How do we do this? We do this through different means. We do it through our community, like I mentioned, opportunities, visibility and recognition, learnings and training. In terms of learning and trainings, we have different programs that we offer here at African Food Changemakers. The first program is the BRACE program. BRACE is an acronym for Building Resilience Against Climate and Environmental Shocks. It is a 6-week capacity building program, and the essence of this program is to help agri-SMEs understand that climate change really affects their business. And we don't just stop there. We go further by introducing them to different climate smart practices that help them curb the effects of climate change on their agri-businesses. The second program is the Scaling Exports program, and just like the name implies, we help agri-SMEs who have really interesting program that nourishes Africa. We want to help them introduce this product into a global shelf. Like, we want to help them have their products on global shelf. So the Scaling Exports program is also a 6-week capacity development program, and what we do here is teach agri-SMEs what they need to know before going into exports, like help them on market research, help them know the different registrations that are required when they want to go into exports, and many others, just to help their products ready for the export markets. And our last but not the least program is the Leading African Women in Food Fellowship. So when you talk about agriculture, you will agree with me that most people that you see on the global stage taking up positions, taking up the stage when it comes to agriculture are the other gender, the male folks. But with the Leading African Women in Food Fellowship, what we are trying to do is to amplify the voice of African women who are doing exceptionally well in the food ecosystem, but their voices are not being heard. So we are trying to put them on the global stage, let them be seen and be heard that actually women are doing a lot in agriculture. So our last but not the least is our Changing Narrative program. Here we partner with different media bodies to develop programs in terms of documentaries, in terms of podcasts. We have podcasts on cocoa, we have podcasts on okra, we have documentaries on jollof rice. You know that the battle has not been won on who makes the best jollof rice. But with our changing global narrative program, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to change the narrative that African can actually feed itself, that we are no longer, we should not be seen as a hungry child any longer, but we should be seen as people who actually can feed themselves, and not just themselves, but the world in general. Thank you very much for having me. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you so much, Gloria Praise. So for those who do not know what we do at ASC, that is a concise summary of the amazing work we are doing here. So we'll be moving on to sharing your export stories. We understand that we have different businesses here, people at different levels at their export level, people who are about to start, people who have started, and people who are pros in exporting. So we'd love to ask you this question. Have you started exporting? And if yes, how has been your experience with exporting? And if no, what is your hindrance? We'd love to know the hindrances, what is stopping you, what is your success stories, what is the challenges? We've had sessions where we've had people say, oh, my challenge with exporting is the logistics. And we had somebody who was also good at logistics, and they met there, connected, and they're helping each other out. So what is your export story? What's the experience like? How has it been going? Feel free to raise your hand. We'd love this to be as interactive as possible. And this is an opportunity for participants to share and also learn from each other aside from the Q&A sessions. So kindly use the raise hand feature. I would prefer that you actually speak and share your export story with us. So I'm actually looking forward to the first bold change maker who is going to be sharing their story with us. So you don't have to have had started exporting. What is your hindrance? If you have not started exporting, what is the issues you are currently facing? And just basically share your experience with us. So first person to share their story, or do we have people already sharing from the comments? Okay, so I can see a question from Runke. She's asking, she's sharing that her network is bad and hope we would get the recording. Definitely you would get the recordings immediately after the session. So I see Philip saying his access to export markets is his challenge. And Abdul Mumuni Aishat is saying, no, I don't have logistics and I would love to be an exporter. Akindeji Tolu Lokpe said, I have not started. Oh, I need guidance and I really want to start exporting. Great. Sefiano is saying, not yet, lack of access to market. So that's the second person saying lack of access to market. Thank you so much for your responses. Onia Julius says it's funding. Interesting. Okay, let's keep the responses coming. Let's keep it coming. And for anyone who would like to actually speak, can use the raise hand feature to just speak extensively in case you want to share. Okay, so Naphtali is saying lengthy and bureaucracy exports, licensing procedures rather. Thank you so much for sharing that. If Naya said it's funds for her cashew nut and bitter cola. So that's the second person who has funding as an issue. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone who has shared. This is also going to help us to always know what and how to tailor our trainings to better provide you with the knowledge and the tools you need to start your export journey if you've not, and also to be able to overcome the challenges you're experiencing if you have started. Dan, I'll just read the last comments I'll be reading. Dan Gee said, not yet, and it's due to lack of logistics, which is including funding. Ibrahim says access to export markets. And Philip said, he would like to add to his earlier challenges, the know-how and how to go about it. Rose said, not yet. I've not identified a ready market export to. Basurum said, doing so informally, but the documentation of funds is a challenge for formal exports. Thank you so much to everyone who have shared their challenges, their stories, their hindrances. What everybody here has been sharing. So moving on to the next session, which is the meat of today. So our speaker for today is Mr. Collins Wosu, who is a seasoned strategist and trade facilitator with over a decade of experience bridging technology and global commerce. As the trade ambassador to the International Trade and Forfeiting Association, which is ITFA, and director of strategy at PRI Global Ventures, Collins plays a pivotal role in enabling international trade across emerging markets. He also has successfully supported over 3,000 SMEs and counting, and also has facilitated mobilization of over $500 million in trade finance and helping build businesses scale globally. His unique expertise lies in aligning digital innovation with trade strategy to unlock access to capital markets and cross-border growth opportunities. He continues to be a driving force in shaping inclusive, tech-enabled trade ecosystem. He's also passionate about empowering African businesses and also actively engages in thought leadership, policy advocacy, and capacity building initiatives, which are focused on sustainable export development. He regularly speaks at trade forums and partners with development organizations to expand trade literacy, access to finance, and digital tools to strengthen Africa's position in global markets. So with a virtual round of applause with all the greatest, best emojis you can use, let's give a virtual clap and welcome to our amazing facilitator for today. It's amazing to have you today with us, sir, and we look forward to learning from your wealth of knowledge and expertise. Thank you so much for being here. Over to you, please.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I'm not sure what your location is, but it's a pleasure to be here to spend this time with you. And I'll just get on with it. Thank you for the intro. If you can hear me, just put an emoji in the chat box. If you can hear me, say hi. If you're expecting something, say hi. When I say expecting something, you've shared quite a few complaints or concerns or challenges, and you believe that at the end of the session, you would have heard something that would take you at least a step further from where you are today. The idea is not to try and force you to go from beginning to end, but at least to chart the course. So if we're able to push you one step further, then we've made some progress. Right? All right. Okay, good. Good to see the highs in the chat box. All right. So I'm going to be sharing something that is critical. Sustainability, ethical sourcing as regards export. Some of you have mentioned the challenges you have with exporting formally. And not to scare you, it's going to get a bit tighter. But then it's an opportunity. It really is an opportunity that is coming up. And everything I need to share is so much that we could actually have modules on each of the things I'd love to share. So I thought the best way to do it is to tell you a story and see if that story, or you can call it a case study, if sharing that particular experience could help us walk through the journey and apply it to the different things we do, from those doing rice, to those doing honey, to those doing sesame seeds, I see bitter cola, and all of that in the chat box. So last month, I was privileged to be a guest of the CBI Netherlands. That center promotes import and export. And we were there with about 13 companies from Nigeria that are focused on share. They have a similar program they're doing with some Nigerian companies focused on ginger, different things. So the program I went for was in cosmetics in Amsterdam. That was just last month. The idea was to promote this ingredient, this thing, shea. And if you know anything about shea butter, shea kernels, shea nuts, you would know that Nigeria has the largest deposit of shea trees, across the shea belt. So how come when you talk about shea, you don't talk so much about Nigerian shea, you talk about other countries? Well, and even worse, if you go to the international market to talk about sale of shea or export of shea, you would scarcely see African companies that are topping the ranks in export. So a lot of countries buy it and then re-export and do all sorts of things with it. So the question is, how do we promote share? How do we get this European market, in this instance, to key into the share market that Nigeria provides? So that basically I wanted to see what the challenges were. I wanted to learn from that visit, of course, meet up with buyers, find out what they were looking out for. And it was quite an eye-opener. In Cosmetics had a section that was focused on sustainability. So sustainable brands, ethically sourced products, There were sessions going on back to back. In fact, the whole day was dedicated to sustainability and ethical sourcing. And I began to wonder, why is it so important? And let me read this to you. So part of what I learned from there, there's a particular company I paid attention to, Univar. And Univar does a lot when it comes to sourcing products from different parts of the world, whether it is raw materials, whether it is semi-finished materials, whether it's chemical compounds, natural ingredients. So a lot of the things you want to do, whether it's farming or services, whether products or services, they do source. But here's what I want you to think about. And I'll read. Sustainability is the ability to maintain or support economic, environmental, and social processes over time without depleting natural resources. I'll repeat it. The reason I'll do so is clear. Sustainability is the ability to maintain mental and social processes over time without depleting natural resources. Okay, can I get this thing tomorrow? Will it continue to come? So for the sake of their business, they don't want anything that will interrupt their business, let's be clear. Nobody's doing it because they really, really love you. But the first thing is that they love themselves. So can I continue to get this? Will you be a reliable source? Are you sure that where you're getting it from, you're not damaging that environment and you're not creating a situation that makes it difficult for us to get it? So think of sustainability as a financial tool. And the people who are coming to you are saying, hey, you know what? If I want to sell your product, the person who wants to buy the product asking me, is it profitable? Is it going to protect the planet? And if your answer is no, then they'll say, oh, I can't buy from you. Why? Because you're already a risk to their business. So if you're a business person and you ask someone, can you supply me this item? I'm going to be using it for my production. You want to be certain that you have reliable supplies. The opportunity that sustainability brings. Now, if you say, I'm sourcing it from, I'm not damaging them. Responsible, and a few questions begin to come up. How do I know that you are reliable, that you are doing what you say you will do? So note this, greenwashing. Just write it down somewhere for future reference. So a lot of, we're actually giving the people in the community, paying them well. You know, oh yeah, we I don't know how many of you read in the news some time ago, it made a lot of waves. Cocoa producers who have never tasted chocolate. And they get pittance for what they produce. So the idea is that if you are sourcing an item from a person or from a group of people or from a community or from a country, make sure you're not destroying that country. Is breaking? Who else is it breaking? Is it breaking for all of you? Okay, someone make sure they're not destroying that environment. Now, a lot of going back to Univar, why I find their story interesting, and one of the things I found with them is a lot of the people who want to buy from Nigeria, Ethiopia, a lot of people who you, right? People who really want to patronize you tick all the boxes because my government is asking, the people who are buying items from me are asking, so I need to be sure that I'm checking all the boxes. But they do not have the time to do it. Back to Univar, spelled UNIVAR. I mean, I'm using that as a test case and all the things that they have taken the position of sourcing, sustainable and ethical sourcing. Say, hey, you know what? You go and rest. I will do the sourcing for you. You go and rest. I will ensure that the standards are met. You go and rest. I will ensure that people are fairly treated. You go and rest. I'll ensure that the certification that is required is provided. So it brings me to the next thing. Globally, there's an expectation, even in the financial reporting. So the first thing is we define sustainability, and we're saying important is because the buyer is demanding for it. The person who wants to buy from you wants to be sure, and more demands are. It's not part of what the report in as part of the financial reports, and there's levels to it, right? Quite a lot of levels to it, and if you're trading, you're doing business outside of the African continent, even the African continent is becoming more stringent, but are not bringing them any risk. You're not bringing them any risk. So all this now comes down to certification. So if you say you're meeting the standard, somebody has to confirm that you're meeting the standards. And how will they do that? A third party will provide a certificate that says, yes, Bushira, you're meeting the standards. Yes, Ifunanya, you're meeting the standards. Philip, yes, you're meeting standards. Paul, Ronke, yes, you're meeting the standards. And that costs some money. That can actually cost some money, right? And we'll come to that. So there are various standards that the market is looking for. And I think the first thing is you need to be aware of what your market is looking for. If you want to go to Europe, you need to be aware that they're looking at past 2060, which in January of this year became defining what you should be doing. There is the fair trade, fair for life standards. What do those certifications do? You say that when you buy from the cooperatives, you guys don't cut down trees. You say that even if you cut down trees, you plant trees. And you say, oh, you pay them for their products. Above that, you're working with the cooperative. And not only are you providing fair wages, part of the monies you get when you sell your products, you're putting it back into the community for their development. How can I believe that you are doing this? Because those are the things that make your production sustainable. Those are the things that help to meet certain SDGs. Stealing from the environment or stealing from the people. You're being ethical about what you're doing, but someone has to check. That's where certification comes in. So you go to a third party, come and say, hey, I'll go through. I don't know who does honey here, but if there's anybody that does honey, you would know that a third in the world right now is adulterated. There's a lot of new environments. There's so much concerns about that ecosystem and the impact of bees to pollination and to ecosystem and to existence. So someone now says, hey, I will buy, Nancy, you do honey, that's great. And someone I'm organic. Someone says, no, it's not about just being organic. You have to prove it. If you say you're organic, prove it. Oh, I'm not damaging the environment. We're doing this in good conditions. And someone says, oh, you need to prove it. That even the people you're working with in your honey production, if you say that it's being done ethically, right? It's being done ethically. The rice production and processing, beautiful. So this same thing goes into your rice. Oh, where are you producing? How are you disposing of the waste? What kind of energy are you using to dehull? There's several certifications that you could use for that. Now, first thing I would say is don't go rushing for certification. Ask your buyers, what do they need? What are they looking for? A lot of people will take fair trade certification from you. A lot of people will take ISO certification from you. Depending on the ISO certification that you're doing, a lot of people will take organic certification from you. But those certificates can take it from you if that is what their market. So advice is, after you have determined that you are the market you want to sell to, just take a moment to find out what are they looking for. The requirements for selling to Morocco is slightly different from what is required to sell in Ghana or Kenya. So that I'll encourage you to go and check. First of all, check fair trade, which generally covers a lot of the things. So if you're fairly traded from you would pass a lot of standards. If you are of organizations and countries also by which is different from the organic certification for the United States. So on which market? Gertrude, is this to bring interested in first off? Then start looking out for the certifications that suit them. That people want to be sure where, buyers want to be sure where they are getting their product from. So traceability. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, oh wow, breaking seriously. All right, but since we're recording, let me go on. I think it's a network issue. A few years ago, we got into the market and we wanted some sesame. We also wanted some shea. I'm particular and concerned with shea because we had bought some shea and we found engine oil in it. We bought some shea that had been mixed with hydraulic in the past. So we were concerned. When we got into the marketplace, we started asking, where are you buying from? And the lady said, oh, I'm not buying, I produce at home. Okay, fine. Can you take us to your place of production? No. We asked several people in the marketplace and they were not willing to take us. So we had to start backtracking to find where we could get shea butter that was not adulterated. Until we got to a particular community and we saw how they were producing, we saw some of the challenges they had, and we, invested a bit in some of those processes so that we could be certain of all community. Now, the same way we wanted this locally is the same way internationally those who are buying want to be certain that if I ask you today, you can tell me I am getting this item, this batch, I bought it from a particular place, a particular spot. We can trace it down to its origins. Now, most organizations don't have the time to do that. So it brings me to opportunity. While certifications and standards and the shift is not just about doing exports or just what the market is asking for now, it's really, really the way to go. It's an investment that needs to be made. And with that challenge, the challenges of ethical sourcing being a challenge because it's expensive, ethical sourcing being expensive because it presents for us who are thinking of something. Who do I know in Jigawa or in Kano or in Kigali, that I can trust? Be the one who would provide me. Are you the one who can provide? Because remember, I mentioned that sustainability and ethical sourcing are even becoming part of financial reporting for a so I'll take you back to sustainability, maintaining sustainability, is the cost. It's expensive to do because you have to trace and track and keep track of every step of your process. Secondly, is information. Not enough information is available, right? So there's a cost to get information. Third, certifications. Certifications can be expensive, and at the same time, they can also supply chains are complex. So, weak governance structures, social and cultural factors. So it can be complex to ethically. Time it provides an opportunity. That's what I've come to. It provides an opportunity, right? And the opportunity is for those listening to me right now to become the go-to company for sourcing. Come to you as the reliable source for rice. Can you begin to position yourself as the reliable source for honey? Can you begin to position yourself as the reliable source for bitter cola? And one way to do that is ranging from your LinkedIn to your TikTok to whatever, to show people what you're doing, because these days it's easier to pass this information across. To record your processes, take people through your processes, take them along the value chain, take them on the journey with you, and let them see. What you'll find is that there are those who are willing to start doing business with you from now, even before your certification comes. Again, I go back to my recent experience in the Netherlands. So we had a particular company come to us, an Israeli company, and ask for additional certification because one of the companies we went with has organic certification. And these guys were asking for additional certification. And we said, no, right now we will not be investing in additional certification unless you can assure us that you'll be purchasing from us. And with that, there has to be a certain kind of financial commitment. Or you will fund that certificate and then we will get it and work with you on it. The third option is buy what we have, make use of it. Then as we go along, you get to know us, we get to know you, and then we can now get that additional certificate for that your market, because it's not only one market that exists. Guess what? They agreed. They agreed. They actually accepted the offer. And yes, small volume, 1 metric ton here, 2 metric tons there. But it's a summarize. Here's what I would say. One, ethical sourcing and sustainability are crucial for global market access because that's where the world is going. Two, as much as it is complex, sometimes supply chain issues, reliability, cost, and all of that, it provides a huge opportunity for everyone listening to me to become the organization of choice when it comes to sourcing. One thing that happens in the business place, in the export market, is once people find where they're reliable suppliers, they know, oh, I can get 20 metric tons of rice from XYZ. I may not get more than 20, but I'm sure I'm getting 20 from you. And that 20 is going to meet XYZ standards. I'll go with him or her. And if he tells me that she's going to bring additional people on board, I trust that she will. I trust that he will. I trust that they will. If Nduka tells me that they're going to supply orange, sweet fleshed orange, or orange fleshed sweet potato, sorry, orange fleshed sweet potatoes, I can trust that they will provide it. I can trust that we'll not find pesticides in it. I can trust that it will not be preserved with sniper. It will not be rejected. So one is the market is going towards being sure that whatever you produce can continually and sustainably be produced, repeatedly be produced over a long time, economically done, profitably done, and in a way that protects the planet. And two is you need to prove through your processes, document your processes, that this is what you're doing, this is how you're doing it. And where possible, seek additional certification. Document in writing, document by putting videos up out there. And third, use what you're documenting and what you're doing to highlight that this is what makes you different in the marketplace. It may take a while. For some, it may be faster, but I assure you, there's a reliable way to go. So there's so much to say, but I hope that you're able to take on these ones and let this be the foundation upon which you build other things. Go to check the markets you want to deal with, find out what they are looking for in terms of standards, speak to one or two people you would love to supply to tell you what it is that they're looking for, and work towards meeting their requirements. Export is one place that you work from the answer backwards. There's very little guesswork. So you invest time in the desk studies and asking questions. It pays off. So I look forward to hearing your stories as the Africa Changemakers continue to monitor you and stay close to you. And I'm here to answer some of your questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to shoot them at me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. Despite the network glitch, I'm certain that we have a couple of persons who have been able to pick something, and I'm already seeing someone raising his hand for our first question. So, Joshua, kindly unmute and ask your question, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Hi, Joshua. We can't hear you.
For the opportunity, moderator. Thank you so much for presentation. Although you use some very insight from, sustainability and ethical sourcing, practices with respect to global trade are really becoming essential component to exporting. And also, I also think that they are also becoming non-negotiable for businesses that want to stay competitive and socially responsible. Of course, just like the way you actually define sustainability. But my concern, sir, is about small and medium-sized exporters, especially those in developing countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and so on, where resources are limited and access to certifications and high standard suppliers is not always feasible. And I give you an example. For example, a small, maybe spice or sorghum exporter in West Africa, right, like Nigeria, might want to meet international, ethical sourcing standards, but cannot afford the cost of fair trade certification, just like the organic certification that you have actually mentioned during your presentation, or maybe third-party audits, or maybe, trying to switch to, eco-friendly packaging. And yet these businesses are, trying to enter the markets where buyers demand compliance with ethical sourcing and sustainability practices and principles. So now my question is that, how can small exporting businesses, practically implement ethical sourcing, practices without incurring high costs? How can all these small, exporting businesses practically implement ethical sourcing practices without incurring high costs? And can they actually, meet these international expectations while staying financially viable? Thank you, sir.
Okay, great question. So if I get your question, how can small businesses, meet the standards and remain competitive? It can be done. It can be done. The question is how, right? And that's what I love, rather than saying it's not possible. One is to recognize that there are two groups of standards. There are the statutory standards, which every country requires. So whether you're small or big, you must meet those standards. And then there are voluntary standards. The voluntary standards are the ones I'm talking about: fair trade, organic, ISO, those are voluntary because your buyer is asking you for those. But not every buyer is asking for those standards. In fact, the EU standards are changing. They are updating their standards to the point where you probably do not need an additional certification in terms of organic certificate to move into the EU, but you have to meet those standards. So one is paying for third-party audit may not be necessary if by the time they implement this. Two is, I already said that there are voluntary standards, which is the organic and all, which you have to pay extra for someone to do. And then there's statutory standards, which you don't have to pay anybody, you just need to work on it yourself. Then remaining competitive, everybody in the marketplace, most people in the marketplace are rooting for the small guy. Everybody wants to say, hey, I'm supporting the community. That's what ethical sourcing is about. That's what fair trade is about. That's what sustainability is about. Oh, I'm actually supporting the people who are doing this because guess what? 80%, more than 70%, let me not say 80, but more than 70% of the businesses or the people who are in fundamental sourcing or production, primary production, are small businesses. So it's either you're forming a cooperative and pooling together your resources to work in clusters, or you take advantage of the internet. One of the last things I said was, you can document what you're doing. As you're going to your farm, your production site, take your phone, record, and you will access the world immediately. Post it on your Instagram, post it on your TikTok, post it on your WhatsApp status, post it on your LinkedIn. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. Document. It doesn't cost you much other than time and diligence to document. So if you begin to document, which is both videos, putting it on there and social media for people to see, then they know and trust that, oh, this person is doing something within the scope of what we're interested in. And I can assure you that people who will come and buy from you just for the fact that you're the little guy, you're the disadvantaged guy who is making the effort. So it's not all about the certification. It's about the certification just proves that you're doing it. And there's a few people who want to. And as a matter of fact, the people who would ask you for certification will be asking you to supply them like 40 metric tons a week, which most small businesses cannot do anyway. But there are people who are looking for 10 metric tons, 20 metric tons. Why don't you, people who are asking for even 1 metric ton, even 100 kg, 100, of your product. So let's focus on those ones to grow our businesses. Put yourself out there on social media, document what you're doing on social media, write down your processes, have your own standard operating procedures documented, and that will put you at an advantage. By implementing what I've just said, you're already going to beat 50% of those who are in the marketplace because not many are doing it. Just by documenting. Online, documenting your own standard operating procedures. That's one way to do it. Okay? All right. I can see a question. Yeah, most certification bodies are expensive. Of course, they are. So again, clusters are important. Certifications can be gotten for clusters, right? And one of the things that has made clusters, groups, cooperatives fail is because the objectives are not clear in most instances. And for a lot of cooperatives, not many people come with clean hands. So if you guys gather around a clear purpose, if one person decides I'm going to drive this, because you don't expect everybody to want to drive it for you, you have to be committed to driving the entire process, then you carry it on your head. That's what I said about being taking advantage and being the person, the go-to person when the rest of the world wants to source. They come to you because they trust you. And your community knows you because they trust you. So you drive the process. So when the group comes together, it makes it easier. There's a company called Kadang Kadang. I think they're in Port Harcourt. The guy wanted to send Fonio to Europe, I think, and it was too expensive. He wasn't competitive. Small exporter. So he decided to set up a logistics company. And what does his logistics company do? It offers groupage. So groupage is that people can bring their own 1 ton, put different pallets together to fill up a container. So instead of one person paying $3,000 or more for a container, 10 people are paying $300 to send out their goods, and that makes it competitive. That's the idea behind group business, cooperatives, and all. So you can come together as a group, as a cooperative, and obtain your certification as well, right?
Thank you so much for your response. Let's have Samuel unmute and ask his question.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Good
Sam.
afternoon, can hear you.
All right. I want to ask a question concerning an export. In terms of when you have a small, medium enterprise for an export and the export demanding of large quantity like 20 feet or 40 feet of container every month, and the person in question that this contract is being contracted to has no certificates to export that, will it be possible to merge with other company that is satisfied? I'm done, sir.
Yes, it is possible. You can do that. But then that is a business decision. So you will have to find a company that you and them agree on certain things. You share the same values. You're sure that they will not cheat you, you'll not cheat them, and all of those kinds of things. So it's a business decision, and it's solely up to you to do. You can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay,
Well, my advice to a lot of small businesses is that there are people too who are looking for small quantities. A lot of people are looking for small quantities. So when you're trying to supply the likes of Walmart, you are looking to supply some of those big companies, you may run into trouble because you may not have the capacity at this time. So why don't you position yourself for the small guy? There are more small people looking for these things than there are the big companies, right? So if you're not able to find people to work with you, please look for the small guys. It is a good place to start. One thing about the export market is it's almost everybody's connected one way or another, and they hardly forget. So if you say, "Oh, I can supply you every week," and you don't, somehow it will get to the next person when you are really ready, and they'll say, "Oh, this guy is not serious." So be ready to start small, think big, start small, start from where you are. Not even start small. Start small is not the right thing. Start from where you are while looking for expansion opportunities. And then someone also asked about, I saw a question just now on certification.
Okay, the question on certification is saying, can you kindly highlight the statutory certifications again?
No, okay, so there are two kinds of standards. Like if you're importing anything into Nigeria, for instance, depending on what you're importing, NAFDAC may be involved. So NAFDAC will have their requirements. If it's electronics, SON will have their requirements. The same thing for every other country. Depending on what you're sending to them, their own, maybe agric department will need certain certificates. So those are standard certification that is required by their government that you would have to provide, you would need to meet, right? But then there's voluntary standards. So the government is not asking you for organic. They're just saying, make sure that you meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria when we test. But the person who's buying from you is saying, I don't even want you to use pesticide. While the government is saying, we allow a certain level of pesticides for you to use, a certain kind of pesticide. The person who is doing organic is telling you, I don't want it. So that's what your customer wants. That's voluntary. It's not statutory. Hence, my saying, ask questions. The person that wants to buy from you, what do you want? Then ask also the market you want to go to, what do they want? so that you are not struggling to get a certificate that you don't need at this time. That's one. Secondly, for the people who are saying if you're a cluster, do you have to be in the same place for the certificates to be provided? It depends. There's nothing cast in stone. You can have a shared processing facility, and individually you collate and process. Your facility can be certified, and then your individual production sites or farms can also be checked up on as source of input. Everything is possible, but you have to discuss with the certifying body or your auditors or your consultants at the stage of planning before you get into that. So don't hold yourself back based on distance. Ask questions. I'm sure there's always a solution. So,
Thank you so much, sir. Let's have Philip Abakede. Kindly unmute and ask your question.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks very much for this important lesson. I learned a lot, but I would just like to ask one question. This has always been my challenge. Is with how do I get to the buyers? Like, how do I get to buy? Let's say I have CCM to export, I have soybean to export, I have rice to export. How do I get to the buyers? Thank you. That's just my question.
okay. Well, I will say Google is your friend. But let's start from there. Just go online and ask sesame buyers in the world, or sesame buyers in Europe, or sesame buyers in the US, or sesame buyers in Ghana, or sesame buyers in, or who uses sesame. So the first thing is to spend a lot of time asking the internet questions. Another place that you could get information is the International Trade Center. They have what they call trade tools. So there's a market research tool that you can use to find out which countries are buying, and generally who and who is buying. And that's one way to do it. Another way to do it too is to Google what are the end uses of this assessment. So if you know that it is used for biodiesel, who are the biggest biodiesel producers and who are the smaller biodiesel producers in the world? So you check their supply chain. You begin to check. So what I'm saying is look for what your product is utilized for and look for the people who use it. Another way to do it too is trade shows. So check which trade shows. Is there a food show? Is your sesame used for food? Is it clothing you're in? Is there a fashion show somewhere? Is it cosmetics you're in? Is there a cosmetics show somewhere? Check for the trade shows and see who has attended that trade show before. Who are the kind of people who are attending? Is your kind of customer available? Again, most of it is checking online. And when you've done that, then you can actually pick up your email and send a well-worded email. Or you register for the event and attend the event. Now, I always advise that make sure you have a lot of information about yourself that is readily available. The person can go to your website and check. They can go to your Instagram and check. They can go to the internet and look for you and find you. Because that is the first place people go to. Facebook, and all they're seeing is nice photos of you posing in front of your car and nothing about sesame. I can assure you nobody will come to you for business. If you are trying to get business from them and you don't even have a landing page, there are so many places you can get free landing pages without paying. And you don't even have a landing page that talks about you and your business. Again, you run into trouble. So the internet is your friend. That's the first source. That's your secondary research place. But you should do your secondary research first. Primary research is actually going to visit these individuals. So do your secondary research, okay?
Thank you so much for the response. Chidera Nelson, kindly unmute and ask your question, please.
Hi, hello. Hi, everyone. So this is not really a question per se, but it's also sort of like ties to everything everyone has said. Um, Obviously, I think like listening to everyone so far, I can see that there are just certain issues that needs to be solved in terms of like how to group or aggregate, you know, smaller exporters. And so that's obviously very clear. I wanted to also share that I personally, I've started working on something around this to solve this. I'm going to drop my LinkedIn page as well. We're still in a place of like market research and ideation, but basically what we're trying to build is sort of like a solution or a platform that solves some of these issues regarding data and traceability, as well as, you know, aggregating suppliers together. And so there'll be more to share over the summer. One key request I want to ask as well here is just given the challenges that people face, I would really love to, you know, hop on a call with, you know, people here if you're interested. I would want to hear from you. What particular issues and challenges are you facing? Just to see how, you know, I can bake this into what I'm building right now. And so I'll drop my LinkedIn profile here. Another thing I want to share as well or ask is, Mr. Collins, if you're open to it, I would love to have a conversation with you as well, as I build on this. That's all. The name of the platform is called Nkaise. It's literally just starting. It's just about a month old, so we're still going through all the processes. But the key thing right now is we're doing, you know, research and understanding what the problems are. Another thing I'm going to also add is this. There's also, in thinking about the landscape, we don't use a lot of pesticides in our produce. So what you usually find is, you know, you want to export something internationally and it's going to go very far. There's a very high chance that the shelf life is very low. So if you're not going to have like, you know, optimized produce, you have to start thinking about what other things to do. Or if you're going to be exporting like secondary materials or things that have an very extensive shelf life if you're going to ship internationally. But I also feel that even locally amongst us, I've heard people coming from different countries here, you might actually have a closer, you know, buyer for your produce in Ghana or somewhere else or in West Africa, right? And I feel like there's a discovery issue that we're facing right here. And that person in Ghana might even want to buy a small quantity and not as even high as a huge, you know, international buyer might need. But obviously there are just so many issues and this is a very defragmented space. And so as many people as possible that I can speak to hear what particular challenges you're facing, I would really want to hear about that over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks. Thanks. I'm going to drop my LinkedIn and appreciate, you know, all the, you know, questions and comments that are coming forth.
Okay. Congratulations to Chidera on your platform. One way to do this, I think, well, you're in the right place. I would advise you immediately after this, first hop on a call with the AFP team, the Africa Chainmakers team, AFC, sorry. Hop on a call with them and discuss, see areas of alignment. So you could be a resource person to provide some of the solutions. And yes, there are a lot of challenges. So it's also refreshing to see that you're not trying to build a payment app. Everybody wants to build a payment app. Well, there are so many other issues to resolve. Olamide, traceability is important for agro produce. Some people want to know. Remember, I gave you the example of the shea butter, and we saw people using hydraulic, people using engine oil. So it's good to know where these things are coming from. If there's ever any issue, you're able to track it. A shipment of one of our clients was seized, and they said, "Hey, it is cannabis." And they said, "No, we don't trade in cannabis. It's too expensive even to do that kind of thing. And if we wanted to do it, we're not going to, I mean, we would have tried to smuggle it in not to do this." And they were able to show line by line, we bought it from this person, we got it from this person. This is that. Certificates are there, test results are there for the batches that they purchased and all. So that's what they're currently using to try and get their powders out. You know, when you're selling things like moringa powder and stuff, anybody can call it anything, regardless of the label, you know, if they want to be mischievous. So that's traceability is important for everything. And for Cultha Foods, it's great to know that you've used Kadan Kadan, and I'm loving it that you have such great reports about what they've done. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So yes, and I said I'm open. Just get my details from AFC and let's talk. That's no problem. All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Collins. I don't think we have any other additional question. Apologies, network has also been kicking us back and forth. So in case you actually drop a question and you might have missed it, you can still drop it in the chat box or just use the raise hand emoji feature on the call to just indicate your questions hasn't been answered.
I think Paul Adenka is asking about export mentorship. Paul, before you start paying for mentorship, two things I would advise you to do. One is go onto the AFC website. There's a lot of information they have. Sessions like this that have been held that are guiding from starting exports to finishing. Go also to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council website. They also run export clinics, and they have information. So digest those first, then reach out for additional hand-holding. And be comfortable starting small, right? I mean, let me not say starting small. Be comfortable starting from where you are rather than waiting for everything to be in place, right? So those are the things. Check with AFC what they have on their website. Check, drop us a mail at ITFA if there's a specific question you have. Go to NEPC website, get more information, and then launch out from there. All right? Okay. Any more questions?
We have Fasusi. That this will be the last question we're taking. Please unmute and ask your question, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for this session. The name is Fashusi Idowu. So I want to ask this question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes.
All right. So I want to ask, because you mentioned Nigeria Exports Promotion Council. Last year, I registered with them. I got the certificate. Then I went there to ask how the certification and registration I made then could be of help to my business. Since then, I've not gotten any information. I didn't get any information from them. There is no email. I tried calling the person that helped me register in that place because I went to their office myself. So to cut this long story short, I've not gotten any value for registering with them. So please, is there anything I need to do? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is it's a repetition of what I've said before regarding certificates at a certificate you do not need. Find out first the people who you want to sell to. What do they require from you? So NEPC, for you to export from Nigeria, you need formal exports. You need their certificate. It's not a question of what do you do or what don't you do. You get the certificate, you commence your export. It will form part of the documentation you would fill online on the portal to file for your export, right? When you're filling your NXPs. So it's important. But first off, be sure that you have gotten your market. Be sure that you've gotten somebody who you want to do business with, and then get your license, right? The other thing is digest what is on their website. They have information on their website, no matter how little. Digest it. There's what's called an export assessment. So you can either get it on their website, you can either get an export assessment from TFU Canada. You can also get an export assessment from just go online and Google. I want to perform an self-export assessment. It will appraise you and help you to know where you are and the things you need to do to be export ready, or your level of export readiness. That is an important thing that you need to do. So that helps you, even as you're getting your traceability right, ethical sourcing right, and all of those nice things. But just know where you are in terms of export readiness. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. That was quite an insightful session. I believe everyone who has joined us for today's Open Export series has learned something, picked up something they would do, and taken knowledge from today's session that they would digest and incorporate into their export journey. But before we let you go, sir, I would love to take, I call it a family picture. So would love everyone to turn on their camera, put on their best smile, and would be taking a snapshot. You can use the snapshot, post it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and share. Oh, this is just finished from the May edition of the Open Export series. This is my key takeaway with Mr. Collins. Tag him also. He's also on LinkedIn. So do also tag him as you share your key takeaways from today's session. So let's have more persons turn on their cameras. I can see Godwin, Fumi, Famous, Emmanuel, Abdurrahman, Joshua, Toby, Kanayo, Wachuku, Philip. Let's get more persons to turn on their cameras, please. Amazing. Thank you, Martha, Nancy, Toby, Gloria. Okay, so in the count of 1, 2, 3, just like we do it in traditional photography, we would give our best smile. I want to see all your teeth showing, please, after the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much. Some people are not giving their best smile. I'm doing it again. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your participation. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. It's always a delight to have you and to learn from you. Just like I said, check out AFC's YouTube page. We have all the previous sessions on the Open Export series and also the IATF page to learn and consume all the knowledge you need. And if you need additional handholding, definitely he is one person that would recommend that would handhold you in this journey. Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next segment of today's session, and that would be our membership drive. I know that a couple of persons here are already part of the AFC community, while some are not. So I'll be calling on my colleague from the membership team to take us up on the membership drive. Hello, Sebastian. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Please confirm you can hear me. You can just react by sending an emoji on the chat box. Okay. So I hope we from today's session. Very quickly, I would be taking you on the membership drive. Anna, could you please move to the slide? Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so for those who are our members, this is not for you, but however, you could also relate this to someone who is not yet our members, and you can indicate by saying I'm a change maker in the chat box if you are part of our community. And if you are not part of our community, yes, you can just listen and pay careful attention to what I'll be speaking on today. So as earlier said by my colleagues at the beginning of the session, at African Food Change Makers, we believe that small and medium-sized enterprises are the lifeblood of the food ecosystem. So we are a hub that provides opportunity for African agri-SMEs to scale their business together. We provide access, strength, and we scale up your business. We prepare you and your business to enter the new African and global market. We have referrals to funding, speaking and exhibition opportunities, and a vibrant community of members from across the world that you can come around, connect with, learn from, and learn with, and also grow together. And we also provide a global market linkage for our community members, and we enhance the visibility and promote media engagement of selected agribusiness. That is through our social media channels. We spotlight our agri business SME owners on our various social media platforms, and we also give access to exclusive networking events and access to hub resources. So at African Food Changemakers, we have a resource hub and a marketplace. Now, the resource hub is a hub where we put on different opportunities for you, ranging from funding opportunities, events, data, and so many on opportunities that you can go there and engage all the opportunities and get more experience on how to scale your agribusiness from where you are to a higher level. While the marketplace is a place where you showcase your agribusiness and people from around the globe, from around the world, not just Africa, can go in, see what you are showcasing, maybe buy one or two of your products, and also promote your products to other people. Next slide, please. Sorry, I think the network. Okay, all right. So, for you to be able to benefit from the few opportunities or the few things we provide for our community members, you must first be part of our community. You must have joined our community on the hub. So how do you do this? Now you visit the website www.afchub.org, afchub.org, or you could also follow the link that will be dropped in the chat box by my colleague. And when this has loaded on your website, you can navigate to join the community icon. It's boldly there on your front screen. Once you log into the website, you will just see it there, join the community. So once you click on it, it takes you to another page where you have to answer a few questions before you'll be able to become a member. So once you answer those questions, you will be taken to another page. And please, while answering the questions, please ensure that you answer them correctly. Make sure you fill them in adequately so that we'll be able to streamline the opportunities we'll be sending down to you. So once you're done filling them, make sure you click the submit button at the end of the page. And once you're done, you get a confirmation email that, okay, you have successfully registered to become a part of our member, but your verification is not yet done. The verification takes 24 to 48 hours before you are being verified. And upon verification, you would also get an onboarding email that will be sent to you. And once all that is done, you can go back to the page, click on login, and use your credentials that you used in registering and your password. You fill those in, and then you are taken to your dashboard where you can see all the opportunities we have prepared for you. And you can just go through them and pick whatever one that suits you. Now, for you to become our member, you must at least have these three criteria before you'll be able to become our member. First one is you must own or work as a top management for an agribusiness. That is, you must work or own an agribusiness. And the second is the agribusiness that you work for or own must be in existence for at least 6 months before you can be able to register to become our member. And the last one is social media presence. You must have social media presence, as it is very important. We all know that times are changing, technology is growing every day, fast rising, and a lot of people are showcasing their business on the social media, which is very important. As a business owner, if you do not leverage on social media, you probably will not be going anywhere in this present dispensation. So having a social media presence is very important before you become a part of our member. So thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you in our community and also enjoying from the various opportunities we have arranged for you. Over to you, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvester. So if you're not part of the AFC community, the only question I have is, what are you waiting for? So please do well to join our community, and you get access to beyond the export series. You get access to a lot of capacity building training. I believe those who are community members here at AFC can agree with me. So if you know that AFC has impacted you in one way, capacity building, visibility, linked you up with somebody, you met amazing community members, let me have you say what we should do is just drop the love emoji in the chat box, because definitely we know that a couple of persons, or many people, I wouldn't say a couple of persons, have benefited from joining our community. So if you benefited from AFC one way or the other, let's have you drop an emoji in the chat box. So while we're having you respond to that, the announcement is stay in touch with us, follow us on every social media, and connect with us, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. There you would be able to stay up to date with all the amazing activities, sessions, programs, initiatives we have in store for you. And just like Sylvester have shared, join our community. We are currently at over 44 African countries. And then do share feedback with us. We are always happy to get feedback from you, how we're helping you to improve, and also your feedback, which we get, helps us to get better. And if you're a member of our community, please do check your email, because we have sent an email for our a survey email. We would love to know more. We'd love to know our community members, get more information about what you do beyond your business, because we are looking at using that information to better structure our services and our initiatives that would be more impactful and beneficial. So ensure you check your email in case you have not checked your email this week, to the link to the survey, and it just takes less than 15 minutes and you would be feeding it. And also do well to subscribe to our newsletter. And then we also have our Braze application that has been extended with by a week. It was supposed to close last week, Sunday, but it has been extended because we want more persons. We currently have like hundreds of persons that have applied for this cohort, and we're looking forward to getting much more. So if you haven't applied for the Brace program, if you have benefited from the Brace program, share the link with somebody else to apply. If you have not applied for the Brace program, again, what are you waiting for? Do well to, my colleagues will be dropping the link in the chat box so you can share, apply, share with your network. Everyone